So I walked out my front door this morning, and it was pretty dark. And I saw an airplane flying over the house. And then it flashed back to 21 years ago when, after the attack, that there were no planes in the air for a long time. The skies were empty. My guess is those of us that are old enough remember exactly where we were when the Twin Towers went down. I remember turning on to 294 to go to some confirmation meeting at Carthage College, and I'm listening to it, and I'm trying to decide whether or not to turn around or go. And so I turned around, and when I got back to the church, the parking lot was about empty except for one car and one guy trying to get in the front door. And I saw Jerry Levin going like this, trying to get in. And he said, "I think we need to do something." And so I got in the church, and the phone rang, and one of you said, "Is there anything I can do?" And I said, "Yes, come over here, sit in my chair, and call everybody in the church and tell them to meet here at 7 o'clock if they have time." And that night, we were in the sanctuary and lighting candles and praying for the victims of 9/11. You know, that was something where it just rocked our country and every one of us, and especially those who lost loved ones, rocked us to the very core. You wonder how stuff like that can happen. You wonder how evil like that can even exist, and you sometimes wonder, where is God in all this? But sometimes the face of evil and the face of courage and goodness come together. And we saw some amazing things happen after that, and in many ways our country came together like it never had come together before. My guess is, on a smaller scale, each one of you and each one of us, we have our 9/11 moments where our faith is tested, our spirit is punched, our humanity is raw, and sometimes you wonder, is there anything more I can endure? And we're tested like people were on 9/11. Yesterday, I was in the front parking lot, and I wanted to take a picture of the sunrise, but there were too many clouds. And every time I turned back to the church, I looked around, and the sun just kind of peeked through the clouds just a little bit. I gave up, I turned around, I came back, and the sun peeked through the clouds again. And I thought about the clouds of 9/11. I thought about the clouds that hang over the country of Ukraine every day. I thought about some of the clouds that hang over your life when things are not going the way you want them to. As soon as I would give up and walk the other way, the sun peeked through. And when I saw the sun peek through, my heart turned to a high school senior, and her name is Anna. Brandon Suva, Kathy King's grandson, is her boyfriend. When I was a senior in high school, I was basically one selfish human being. I thought about my sports, I thought about where I'm going to go next, I thought about my schedule, I thought about getting into college. Well, Anna's a senior, her mom is a single mom. She was in Michigan on a break and was on a four-wheeler with her young son. And she hit a ditch that she didn't see. Her son is fine, but mom is not. She's on a ventilator, feeding tube, and she's in Kalamazoo, Michigan, miles away from her daughter and her family. And Anna, right now, is home with her younger brother and younger sister. A senior in high school, home, taking care of her family. And I remember Anna and Brandon came by here yesterday morning on their way to see her mom. And I thought of the clouds in her life. I thought of those peaks of sun that sometimes give you hope in the midst of something that's going tough. I think of the sun, Jesus, a symbol of hope and goodness and all that stuff that we talk about every Sunday. And so I gave them a down payment on the love bucket. And I hope they realize that in the midst of the clouds that they're facing, that there is a glimmer of hope. And isn't that what we're called to do as God's people, whether it's in our own life or somebody else's life? That we need to embody that peak of the sun through the clouds that Jesus is all about. I think of Brandon growing up here. He used to sit over there. He would come to church kicking and screaming when his grandmother dragged him into the church. And I'm thinking of all the sermons he heard about little Fred, the videos in confirmation about the power of kindness over and over again. And now, all that comes to fruition as he and his girlfriend face a very tough time. All that comes alive, the stuff that we talked about all those years in church. I think of the gospel lessons for this morning. There are times when you and I are the lost coin. And there are times when you and I are the lost sheep. And we wonder, with all the billions of people in the world, how can God notice us and care about us? What about the mom who lost a daughter 21 years ago at 9/11? And she wonders, do people still think about us 21 years later? How about the Ukrainian farmer who lost his entire farm? He wonders, are people going to get bored hearing about Ukraine? And how about a high school senior girl who wonders, as a senior, will people still remember and help us as I try to bring healing to my mom? Sometimes we're the lost coin. Sometimes we're the lost sheep. But there are also times when we need to be the shepherd who doesn't give up. That we need to be the lady who wouldn't give up until she found that lost coin. Because when we notice somebody else, it's a reminder to them that God notices them. When we don't give up on somebody else, it's a reminder to them that God never gives up on them. Yes, there are times when we are, or we know someone who is the lost coin. I'm just glad that we have a God in our life who never, ever gives up on us. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed.